Hello, friends and fellow jackets. Welcome back to the Monday Morning Murder Podcast. I am your host, Faye Fire, aka Erin, and this is my lovely co-host, Boring Mandy, just a normal boring Mandy over here. And we are here to discuss season 3, episode 8 of Yellowjackets, called A Normal Boring Life. And this was a very unexpected episode. There was just a lot of surprises that happened. I had my personal favorite Jackie vision thus far. But yeah, there was a lot of craziness. So Mandy, what did you think of this episode?
My least favorite Jackie vision thus far.
Really?
But I'll let you ship it, okay, Shipman. What's going on in the Yellow Jacket enthusiasts hive? All of our citizen detectives. This episode, I think it was a great filler for what's going on, and I'm like, I cannot wait till the next episode drops. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Momo. We're so glad you're here. Lola, Cece, Miss Duncan the Tall, one of our homegirls for life. Hello, and hello to everyone who's here. If you're new, like, subscribe, say hello in the chat, join the hive. Let's go.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for spending your Monday morning with us and hanging out to discuss this episode. Yeah, it was a lot. There's a lot to talk about. Mandy and I, we did an almost 4-hour stream last week, so we're going to try and keep it a little shorter this week because, it's a beautiful day outside in Alaska in the wilderness, so I got to go fishing, But anyways, but yeah, I got to talk about Yellowjackets first and foremost, priorities here. So,
well, we're fishing for men over here, so fishing for subscribed lives. And Maddie, good morning. Maddie's been coming in. I recognize you all in quite many chats, so you're part of the tribe now. You're in.
Yeah,
you're on the
thanks for
team.
being here.
You made varsity.
Well, we've got a couple of fun things to discuss. So actually, before we get into it, I did want to spend a minute. I just wanted to shout out a couple of Yellowjackets channels that I just have been loving. And I just wanted to show some love, show some support. Yes, if you want to like and subscribe here, but also there's some other channels which are really great. And Mandy is going to drop some links in the chat. So first and foremost, I wanted to shout out Media Melanie TV, which she is not covering Yellowjackets right now. She's covering a lot of other shows, and she's covered Yellowjackets in the past. She used to be a part of the Yellowjackets Hive podcast, and her channel's just growing. She's doing a lot of hard work, so I really wanted to give her a shout out and say hello and just tell her I'm proud of her and love what she's doing over on her channel. Also, want to shout out the Yellowjackets Hive podcast, which is now hosted by Emily, and she's doing great work over there. She just dropped an interview with Kevin Alves this morning, who plays Travis. So that's really exciting. She got to ask him a lot of cool questions, a lot of deep dive kind of questions. So definitely check out her interview for that she just dropped this morning. I also wanted to shout out one of my favorite channels. This is a newer channel. It's called Mud Love Media. And sometimes he shows up here in the chat. Such a great channel. I absolutely love his videos. They're super funny. He does a whole mud court kind of thing, and he covers Yellowjackets and I think Severance and a couple other shows. So definitely check out his stuff. It's really great. And I also wanted to shout out a channel that I recently discovered called Sista Pam. And she covers Yellowjackets. She also covers a lot of horror stuff. And I just really like her channel. She is just a lovely little lady, and I just really like watching her videos. So, and also I'm mentally in competition with her just because I need that kind of motivating factor, and we're close in subscriber count. So I'm like, okay, I gotta beat her. I don't know. I'm Shauna Shipman in my mind. Okay.
Whoa,
sorry, guys.
whoa. You are not. No,
I don't gotta beat her. She's actually covering some really cool stuff with Scream and stuff. So she talks a lot about all the Scream stories, and she's working hard. She's live streaming every single day. So she's kicking ass.
You are not the captain now. Okay.
All right. And then one last channel I do want to shout out is Ashley KM. And she covers Yellowjackets. She covers some other shows. I think she covers From and Severance, or a couple other shows. But I love her Yellowjackets content. She's super funny. I just really like her channel. She's one of my favorites. She's been covering Yellowjackets. I watched her videos last season, been watching them this season. I just think she's hilarious. So definitely check out her channel. And if you guys are familiar with any of these channels in the chat, definitely let us know, because I think that they all deserve love. I'm a big supporter of all Yellowjackets channels, and I watch almost all the Yellowjackets videos that come out just because I don't know, I just love it. Even though I make videos, sometimes I like to watch videos too, guys. So there we go. Yeah. So Momo is familiar with these channels. Ashley and Mudlove are hilarious. They are super funny.
Yeah.
I really love them.
And of course, we all know already, and I'm pretty sure it's in the links, is the Paramount Plus. We have to shout out to them because they're the people with the merch and the cool stuff. And I also do want to throw in Tony Teflon, because he's an old time friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I did hear recently that he was covering Yellowjackets. I haven't been watching, I won't lie, but I do know that we used to do a lot of stuff together for Game of Thrones. So just I'll try to find the link for that.
All right. Yeah, anyone who's doing Yellowjacket stuff, they deserve the love. So all right. And then also, before we get too much further into it, now granted the flight was canceled, but we're rescheduling the flight for tomorrow. Mrs. Duncan the Tall has to go on an emergency family not vacation, but a family trip. And so we need to do a wilderness prayer circle to keep her safe. Mrs. Duncan the Tall is one of our besties here on the channel, a great friend of the channel. So definitely send the good vibes to her. You know how it goes. All right. Now we've got a big announcement here. Miss Mandy, do you want to make this announcement, or do you want me to?
You go ahead, Moo. You go ahead, Boo.
Okay. So
I'm afraid of you.
We've been doing our hashtag it chooses. Whoops. No. Show me this. No. Show me that one. Okay. Wait, add a stage. Sorry. Technical difficulties. I'm very smooth here. Okay, so we've been doing It Chooses, hashtag It Chooses, which is our Yellowjackets themed March Madness for 2025. And after a fantastically popular 1,000 votes on our final round, our final showdown between adult Misty and teen Nat, our official winner of hashtag It Chooses 2025 is Miss Natalie Scatorcio, teen version, of course, but she is always the queen. So she deserves a big, huge shout out. And, we all love Nat here. So this is our antler queen. Always has been, always will be.
Let's get off.
This was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing It Chooses. It was a lot of silly, little writing up of, little blurbs and that kind of thing. And big shout out to Mandy. It was her idea to do this to begin with. And so it was just a lot of fun. We definitely have to do it again next year. Because
truly shout out to Dabble's Fingers, because they did it for Game of Thrones. And I was like, well, we should do something similar. So we didn't quite copy it, but we did,
well, March Madness, it's rather popular across the board or something. So, we are having fun. But yeah, it was a lot. It was really so much fun. So thank you all if you participated, if you got your votes in there. I put 1,000 votes. We're very close to 1,000 votes on that final one. So I just am so proud to have such a popular little fun thing that we did here. So I'm glad that you guys partook and you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, it was more so about just bringing the hive together and just kind of getting, more commentary and getting us all to get this fandom going and keep it going, because we definitely need season 5. Okay, we definitely need it.
Yeah,
no, well, 4. I mean,
and 5.
We're getting 4. We're getting 4.
Yeah.
But we need 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and we'll see.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's get into it. So, Mandy, do you want to read our synopsis for this episode?
All I wanted was oh wait, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Okay, a normal, boring life with a possible escape from their nightmare. The Yellow Jackets learn not everyone may be in the rush to leave. In the present, the unexpected return of an old teammate sends Shauna spiraling in ways that should probably concern everyone.
Woohoo. Very intense stuff going on. And then
Faye, you have the Slurpee and the toilet paper. I love that.
I just loved that whole sequence. And you know what that says to me? And we're going to get into it more, but I just want to like put it out there. Like that whole sequence was all about hope returning to them. And like we've talked so much about this throughout this season. Like that was basically the main point of my Misty video that I did like a month ago about the black box. Like hope is so important out there. And so when it returns and we see these visions of the girls like just like living it up. I loved
Look,
that. It was such a great representation.
and I mean, I know skiing ahead. I know you hate when I do this, but I have to say it because of black box. So when Shauna entered Melissa's house, the door had the double black boxes.
Oh, really?
As the key lock and the door handle. And I was like, oh, black box moment, right before they get into their conversation about hope versus, you know, where Shauna is, despair.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, it was like a Judas versus Peter type of thing when it comes to the betrayal of how you best handle your healing and your grief and your exception. But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about it later.
All right. And then, so our song of the week. Now
maybe they were I mean, I don't know. Simpsons did it, but this could have been like them knowing COVID-19, because I think everybody in COVID-19 wanted Slurpees and toilet paper. I'm just saying.
Maybe they're all having like visions of the future. That's so funny. Okay, and then our music choice of the week. Now, Mandy, we didn't discuss this ahead of time. I made the executive decision, but honestly, there were so many good music shout outs for this episode, but I don't know if we agreed on this, but this was my choice. So
yeah, I knew that would be your choice. We don't agree on it, but I do like that choice because that's super like it's super you, like a very dark, you know, that Seattle grungy. I don't know, that's you. But
what you know about listening to Sleater-Kinney when you're 17 years old and you're driving with your friends, smoking cigarettes in the car, and your car breaks down on the side of the road on the I-5, and you got to call your friend's dad, and he's got to come and get you guys out of there, and you're just like smoking cigarettes, listening to Sleater-Kinney, thinking you're the shit. That was just me.
I was more like smoking cigarettes, walking down the road because I don't have a car, listening to Saltgrass, wishing I lived the clueless life. For feeling all right. We are young. We are free.
Now that's this was was that your choice?
I still don't have a car, everybody. Let's just be realistic. Like, right. I mean, I'm old, yeah. So
I'm living Shauna's life. My van's an old piece of shit that don't even run anymore. So
I just I'm a professional rider. Like, I just don't drive. I do not like to drive. Not my thing. I get driven.
Yeah, at this point, after living on an island with 14 miles of road, I can't even imagine driving on the freeway. Like, I literally have like nightmares about driving on the freeway at this point. I could not do it. Like, our max speed limit on this island is 45.
like I'm clueless.
Exactly. So like, and that's the thing, you know, Mandy, was that your song choice?
Saltgrass. Yes.
Okay. Sure. Because you know what? It was a very tough decision. The only reason I chose Sleater-Kinney, I'll tell you guys, well, number one, because I have, you know, personal like love for it. But also because Sleater-Kinney is from Olympia, Washington. And so Olympics, Olympia being like where Zeus is and, you know, the Olympians. So anyways, I just thought that was unique. Olympia, Washington, the girls were on their way to Washington. So there's kind of something there, a connection with Sleater-Kinney and the, you know, sort of Greek symbolism and all of that with the girls. We're going to the Olympics tomorrow. So, but yeah, the other song I love so much, that song, now, if I'm not aging myself too much here, Mandy, and you might not, I don't know if you know this or not, but you know who probably does know this is Van Palmer. Because back in beautiful 1995, I want to say, I had a VHS copy of the movie Clueless, And after the movie is over, it plays that music video at the end. And that was just, that was a beautiful thing.
I love I was at Walmart the other day and they have like outfits like Clueless now, and they were on sale and I almost bought it, but I'm like, I don't know if a 40-year-old woman should be wearing a Clueless outfit, but
Dude, I was about the Clueless life back in the day. Like I was really into like the clear bags. Like Cher had the clear like I had a clear backpack with a smiley face on it. That was very popular
Mm.
back then. Jelly sandals, Mandy.
Oh, I just got some jellies from Target. I have to show them off. I have to. I have
Please
to.
do, please do. Okay, we're having a full 90s moment. And on that note, like I absolutely love going back to that vision that Shauna has in the grocery store or what have you. Jackie's outfit like is so 90s and I love it so much because I just miss the fashion. I was like talking about this with my husband last night while we were rewatching the episode. I was like, girls just don't dress like that anymore. Like girls dress like Billie Eilish now. And I miss when girls dressed like 90s, like little like pigtails in your hair and like funky, like remember that movie Jawbreaker? Like girls used to dress like that. And that was hot.
Oh,
Okay.
butterfly
Sorry. Not
clips.
Billie Eilish.
Butter.
Dress like Jawbreaker.
Check these
So
out.
cute.
They are. They're fun. I'm gonna go back and get them in every color.
I love it. That's gorgeous. Yeah, I was really thinking about I must have been like reading your mind or something because I was like, dude, I really want some jellies. When I was in like 6th grade, I had the kind that had heels and I just thought I was like the shit. So, anyways. All right. So, that's fun stuff. I'm glad we got to talk about that. I'm glad we got to have a little 90s fashion like recap. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and oh, you know what? There was one question I do want to answer in here. I don't think you're ready for this, Jelly. Indeed. One of my channel members over here had a question. Can someone post the link for the pictures with the costumes, please? Sheila, I don't know exactly what you're referencing here. So if you want to get a little more specific, drop another comment in there and I will see what I can figure out for you. Which costumes? Let's be more specific. Okay, so what is this? We had a slush puppy in Canada with every flavor. It was called swamp water flavor. Is that when you do one of each of the flavors? I think we called it the nightmare.
We called it suicide.
Yeah.
When you do that. Yeah, the suicide slush.
I was craving a Slurpee so bad. Like we don't have a 7-Eleven on this island. I was like, I want a Slurpee. So Mandy, will you please go drink me a Slurpee later?
I had one yesterday, but I will.
Give
You
me
know
one
what I'm
from
gonna
home.
do is I'm gonna send you like a Slurpee machine on Amazon. They have them now.
Really?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
might.
Okay.
It's gonna be a cheap. It's gonna be a cheap one, but yeah.
I don't care. I'll take a cheap one. It's probably
Wait.
better. I could probably find some nice, healthy ingredients to make it with.
We just bought our kid a boba one because he keeps like, they're like $7 a pop for a boba tea. And I'm like, I drink chai tea all the time. I'm like, no, we're gonna mix the stuff at home. Let's go.
Yes.
So
we've been getting those too, the ones from the store. Sorry, we're just rambling here, you guys. I'm like, we're gonna keep it short, but we're here talking about boba tea and freaking jelly sandals. But yeah, I love those boba teas at home. And the restaurant here that used to make boba tea, they closed like a year and a half ago, which is the worst. They made the most delicious boba teas. So sad. Okay, all right. So let's get into this. Sorry, guys. We're off on a little bit of a tangent here. All right, so now we're going to start with the adult timeline today and kind of get through that. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. So we start the episode with Shauna, and she is having a vision, or she's having a dream in her van. And well, we assume it's in her van. So let's just hold on. Let me start again. She's having a dream, and in this dream, she is in a grocery store, and she is the checker. And as she's just scanning items, kind of mindlessly zoning out, she realizes Jackie's standing there, and Jackie says, she says, you've already scanned that one, and she's still kind of zoned out. Jackie says, tricks of the trade. And I love this scene, like how there's the sign behind her. You can't really see it in here. They must have added it in. But anyways, there's a sign there that says celebrating 40 years. And I just think that really like emphasizes, when this vision is kind of supposed to take place, or, in her mind. But basically, Jackie is being Jackie. And I just loved this scene. And Shauna realizes she's scanning butchered human body parts and also boxes of hot chocolate. And so, of course, this is like, a lot of that symbolism going on, the hot chocolate symbolism, which is so prevalent with Jackie, with Mari, and sort of that descent into the underworld. And so we can see Sean is really kind of mentally trapped here. And I do want to point out, behind Jackie, there's also a bunch of apples. And this is relevant because it comes into play later. There's a bunch of apples there, and like a bunch of little, like what I was kind of taking from all the kind of stuff around was all stuff that you would probably buy like before you were going to go camping. Like little snacks, little, apple, like things that would be good to have out in the wilderness per se, And so I just thought that was really interesting. But so Shauna basically looks at Jackie and she's like, is this really all my life is going to become? And Jackie's like, well, how should I know? I'm dead. You killed me. And I loved that response. And then suddenly Shauna's hearing this like buzzing and fluttering overhead, and she looks over her shoulder, and it's the light fixture, and it's just filling up with moths, like a ton of moths fluttering and flying around in there. And Jackie says, poor things, they're drawn to the light. They should know better, don't you think? Or something to that effect. And so Shauna's just watching, and then basically the light fixture gets so full of these moths that it basically breaks and explodes. And I just have to tell you guys, I would absolutely die if that happened to me. So I hate moths. I need to say it for the record. I am not a fan of moths. They terrify me. So this was an exercise in facing my fears. So yeah. Mandy, do you have any thoughts about this vision?
Yeah. Okay. So behind her too, you see all the seed packets, right? You're seeing all this growth, all these things, and then the pasteurized aisle, and you're getting here all this butchered meat. So this is also like this good reflection on, metaphorically, visually, on what we can do. Are we going to grow the seeds? Are we going to grow the apple? Or are we just going to butcher each other like in the cannibalistic way, Cain and Abel? She has plenty of opportunity and growth to be employee of the month, to make it up, to do other things, but she's not doing what she wants to do. She'd rather just be miserable old Shauna. So that's all. I mean, I don't know. That's all I have to say about this. The moths, I was just like, oh, like, kind of reminded me of like a little Mothman prophecy type thing,
Ooh.
getting into that.
Another one that terrifies me.
Also, the fact she calls her shipman, and we've talked, about like, just let's brainstorm a little bit about like, is she the shipman? Because I thought like Natalie's more like the ship person, or like Sharon. At this part now, they've switched a lot of places and they're kind of archetypal roles. So is she going to be that ship? Is she going to be, so I thought, and what's the other character that we talked about in Curse, the man that you always like to talk about?
Oh, well,
you got it.
Are you meaning Merlin or?
No, of course not Merlin. The other one, the water guy.
The water guy. The weeping monk?
With the leg.
With the leg. Who's the water guy with the leg? Hold on.
He's missing a leg, and he's got like he does the ship. Okay, anyway.
Anyways. Why am
we'll worry about that later.
Having a brain fart? I'm having a brain fart. Sorry, guys. I always thought of Shipman as the, her like shipping, like, and this is going back to like the very first episode of the whole series. Like in my mind, Shipman was always kind of a reference to like shipping, because like Shauna is, well, initially I was like, oh, well, she's, she's sleeping with Jeff, and then she's like has all these feelings for Jackie and that kind of thing. So I always kind of equated it to like a ship kind of
Mm.
thing. Like Jackie looks like a total suburban mom. Yeah, I think they both do. That's what I loved about this scene. I love when Jackie's like so much wasted potential because like, well, first of all, no shade at anyone who works at the grocery store, because to be real, I would, if I was going to go get a job right now, I'd probably just go get a job at the grocery store, and that's a perfectly respectable career for anyone. But of course, Shauna believing that she's sort of lost at all opportunity in her life because she didn't go to Brown and Jackie has died. And it's like, what's really becoming glaringly clear throughout this episode is like what Shauna has left back home. And that's kind of part of her decision at the end of the episode to want to stay, because it's like, what does she have left back at home? Her baby is buried out there. Her best friend is dead, who died out there. So it's like, if she goes back, like all the plans they had for the future and all of that are just out the window. And she has to like explain all of it. And it's just a very uncomfortable situation. And so I don't blame her for, like, this is almost like a nightmare for her. And the other thing I want to bring up, because actually Mrs. Duncan the Tall brought this up to me, and I just thought it was such a great point. Now, in this vision, right afterwards, Shauna wakes up and she's in her van. Okay. And it looks like, she's woken up from this nightmare kind of thing. But later into the teen timeline, when Shauna is seeing the moth again above Melissa's head and it's buzzing around, she starts to have flashes in and out of that, where she's seeing the vision from the grocery store, the lights, the moths up in the light and that kind of thing. So what that kind of leads me to believe, because it's like, okay, this is happening in the teen timeline, the moth, but why are the flashes in and out? It's leading me to believe that this might be a recurring dream that Shauna has, or a recurring nightmare, actually, which may have started out in the wilderness, because it's like, okay, this is all I have to go back to, this is all I turned out to be, or whatever she says to Jackie. So I think this might be a recurring dream that she has. And so she had it out in the wilderness. She sees kind of flashes of it, but then she also has it again in the future, right before she goes into Melissa's house. And it's again like an emphasis of like, this is all you turned out to be, is to just be like a psycho that you became in the wilderness, or and never,
you know what though?
that's kind of the part. And then with moths, they symbolize, transformation. They symbolize death and all of this kind of stuff. And so that's definitely connected more, and I'm going to make a video. So I'm going to try and like not get too deep into the symbolism so I can save some of it for the video. I already have it written up and I'm really excited to get that out to you guys.
Let's save it then. Like I have a lot to say about symbolism in this, but I'll give it to you for the video.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll keep it short.
In the video, we're going to talk about like the Silence of the Lambs connections and just other like symbolism and why it is so fitting for Shauna. So keep an eye out for that video. Hopefully I'll have it out to you guys by Wednesday at the latest, if everything goes according to plan. So, all right. So moving on from that. So after Shauna has this vision, she wakes up and she's in her van and she's outside of Melissa's house. And so she decides to, she goes in and a little B&E for the morning to start out your day. She breaks into her house. She's kind of looking around and then she hears people upstairs. So she runs into like a little bathroom or little bedroom or what have you. And she hides in there, and the family comes downstairs and it's Alex, who she was expecting to see. And then Alex has a child. I think it was a daughter. And so as they're coming into the kitchen, they're talking about, what did mommy make us for breakfast today? And they are all talking about apples. It's whole conversation about apples. So I thought that was really interesting, especially right after she had that dream where there was tons of apples there behind Jackie. And of course, apples have a lot of symbolism anyways, as far as like poison apple and, many other ideas. So Shauna is hiding out in this little room, and suddenly we see the mommy of the of the family is none other than Melissa Hat, still wearing the hat, which is weird. And so she basically, Alex and the daughter, they end up leaving, and Melissa gets a knife and she says, all right, whoever you are in there, come out right now. You don't know whose house you just came into. And so, of course, Shauna, she realizes what's up right then. So she takes a deep breath and she comes out and she's like, actually, I know exactly whose house I just walked into. Melissa. Okay.
Yo, gangster Shauna. This is so gangster Shauna moment. Like, Shauna is getting more gangster and gangster. And at the end, it was like, yes, I do. And you know what? And she just goes for it. But well, the parallels here are just like ridiculous. And everything is so, even in all the scenes, you see that they're like complete equal. But with the apple, though, like I wanted to comment on that because like when we're given the apple in the beginning of like biblical times in the story, that's the one thing we can't do, but we do it anyway. So it kind of has to do like this whole bigger thing of, did you do the things you wanted to do, or did you do what you were supposed to do? Like we're talking about Shauna's dream, it just embodies that kind of, these are not the things that I wanted to do, the forbidden fruit, the temptation. But it's also like, it says, it gives us the chance. It's our chance to make our own decisions.
Mhm.
It's our chance to, hey, am I going to do like Taissa did the same thing too, but Taissa's crazy as hell. So I just wanted to kind of like add that in there because the worm and the apple, and she calls, or Melissa calls her daughter, all right, you little worm.
Mhm.
Like, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. Well, and on that note, she also has that little interaction with Alex where she's like, what kind of wife? Or she says something like, oh, you need gas in your car. And she's like, oh, you couldn't fill it up like a good wife. And what I was really taking from their sort of brief interaction, I was feeling like, because, okay, so let's think about this. So Alex is younger, like Melissa is younger than Shauna, but Alex is younger than Melissa. So in the way that Shauna played out her like Jackie Shauna dynamic on Melissa, in a sense, where there's sort of this power play. I kind of wonder if the same dynamic is happening with Melissa and Alex, where Melissa's the older one, she's kind of dominant and also clearly not entirely sane. She's making strides, but like obviously she's still being haunted by her past, and in ways that like also like, okay, so the whole thing with the tape, her saying that she wanted to basically help Shauna put the past behind her by like leaving the tape, and it was helping her like put the past behind her. And I'm just thinking to myself like, this is Melissa's toxic habit in the way that we talked about last week, where Van is attracted to dark Taissa, or Shauna has, her own toxic tendencies, which come in a variety of forms. They all kind of have their little toxic vices that they have. And I just kind of wonder if that was like Melissa's sort of emerging, like she couldn't hold it back anymore in the same way these other women can't hold back those primal urges. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just felt like that was her. Like she thinks she's doing something productive or helpful or whatever, but that's the lie she's telling herself just so that she can throw herself back in the situation. So, so let's see. So Mandy's on the chat. I'm gonna let you do your thing. Okay, so they have their conversation, and basically Melissa she goes by Kelly now. Okay, she faked her own death, which is interesting. So the Yellowjackets, they all went to her funeral, which is interesting. But she faked her death, and she says that she had to do it because she wasn't one of them once they got back, and she was absolutely terrified of Shauna and the rest of them. Maybe Shauna specifically, I'm not really sure. And so that is something.
Yeah. So I love that, this comment here I put up there. Wondering what else she said in her note. And I guess, so terrified to fake her own death, or so wanting to just put that behind her and run away from everything and everyone, and in a
Mhm.
sense create this new life. But can do you really truly change? Because look at how, despite creating her new life, as soon as she knew, her wilderness tactics got into play. She knew someone was there. She knew someone was stalking in the closet. Or maybe they're just like, spiritual bond is so connected that they just like feel each other and know,
Well, no.
because we talked about child bonds last episode, and how Shauna kind of took Melissa on as like this childhood lover role, which is kind of weird, like
Mhm.
sexy mommy thing. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it was like that, so.
Well, I think that like how you said that just came right out of her as soon as she saw someone was in the house, like she snapped right back into her Melissa mode. So she hasn't left all that behind. And even when she's sitting there pretending, she was still keeping tabs on everyone. She saw that Lottie had started a cult. She saw that the other women had joined. She learned that Natalie had died. And she put all these pieces together, which I mean, to give her some credit, like she's not wrong, like all the things she said. And Shauna's like, well, it's not really, well, we weren't really, but really, you were, like, Natalie was essentially sacrificed to the wilderness. I mean, let's be real. That's what happened. So, yeah, it's just kind of funny. I don't know.
So
She thinks she's
this
hiding, but Shauna does a great job calling her out by saying, you're not you. So this is just a lie, and you're actually insane. You think that you're sane, but you're not sane at all.
Well,
What was
here
that
it
comment?
says. Okay, so this was funny too, just because they're still going on about the Slurpees in the chat, and it's like that was the line. The semi-frozen sugar with toxic colors and flavors, life bug of our youth. So I mean,
Yeah,
toxic childhood, it all flows together in this river of
exactly.
blood,
Why
in
do
our
we
life
have
blood.
autistic children now? Probably from all the smooth
But
or the Slurpees.
yeah, we'll just call it vodka and call it mommy flavored. I like that. I'm more of a gin girl myself, but
Everyone, drop
so
your favorite Slurpee flavors in the chat. I'm a
watermelon,
I like the Coca-Cola. I like to mix Coca-Cola and the cherry flavor.
So you're old school. You're so old school.
I know.
Um,
Basic.
but this one too, the cops take the easy way out in all the crimes, like Nat. And I think, that's another thing that we need to point out, is that they are so master manipulators at this point, because they've been manipulating the cops and the media and the press and this whole story and hiding it for what, 25 years now. And they just like, she was able to recognize that, hey, if I just try to die, I mean, I'm surprised she just didn't. Maybe she turned them in. I mean, and then she's on witness protection program. We don't
Yeah.
know that. We don't
That's a good
know.
point. I mean, if they didn't do it, well, yeah, because I don't think that Shauna actually knew that she was like, she probably, okay, she did all her research. She figured out where Alex lives. She probably figured out that Alex had a wife, and maybe even knew that the wife's name was Kelly, but I don't think that she realized that it was Melissa until she laid eyes on her and she was like, oh my God, this is a hot mess.
I think she's the
So,
hot. So personally, and I like
uh,
it.
most
That
people
mess,
have
I'm
forgotten.
gonna,
Oh
I'm gonna
God.
clean that mess up. I'll clean it up.
Yeah. My kitten is a grandmaster, says most people have forgotten about the first death, Adam. And I have not forgotten, because Melissa says something that is very triggering to Shauna right before the last thing she says to her right before she lashes out is the exact same thing that Adam said to Shauna at one point. So we're going to talk about that. Gray Alien, mine too. I have two of them. So thank you to the
Mine
Slurpees
too.
and
Mine
probably the
too.
McDonald's. That's all right
Yeah.
though. It's all right. Um okay.
I have autism. Like, I mean, I'm higher on the spectrum, obviously, but my kid as well, and so it's a very broad spectrum. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like they're triggering moments, and like and the Slurpees.
Mhm. Mhm. All right. So, okay. So Shauna, or excuse me. So one of these great moments that I actually really loved was Melissa saying that she goes to church. Now there was this moment. She says I go to church. I go to effing church. And she's talking about how, she has this very boring life, this very mundane life going on. And she just has a wife and a kid and she goes to church and she's just happy. And that was one of the things she was talking about in the teen timeline where she was like kind of rambling on. She's yapping away while Shauna's having a Silence of the Lambs moment. But she's living the life that she imagined, which is just very simple, boring, normal, nothing exciting, nothing like what they had experienced out there. And I love how she says, I go to church. I go to effing church. She says it twice. And then like a second later, Shauna says, I'm not insane. I'm not insane. She says it twice. And so there was something there with like both of them like reiterating that. And obviously, I talked about in my last video the goldfinch symbolism, which has to do with Christ and the goldfinch bird. And then Melissa out in the wilderness is actually wearing a goldfinch feather on her shirt. And so that resurrection symbolism really played out here because, she fakes a death, but she's reborn as Kelly. And so I just thought that was important to point out. But yeah, so so Kelly, she's been keeping tabs on everything that's been going on. She's like, well, why would Lottie start a cult? And Shauna's like, well, it's actually more of an intentional community, but
the whole thing with Shauna, though, like she's so projecting. She's the most hypocritical person at this moment that I've ever seen her be in all of the episodes. She's just jealous, and it is like this. Melissa being happy set her off, and the fact, like, see how it's paralleled, and so like you're seeing these different sides, but they're both. One is happy, one is not, and she's calling her out because what happened is instead of Melissa staying miserable, she's fixing it and doing things to do it. And Shauna's instead trying to hide the secret more or kill off people, or that gangsta moment where, well, to keep the secret the best, you just gotta kill him and spill the blood, like Jesus, Shauna, whoa. Yeah. But this is also Peter and Judas, because like before, and we are talking about the Easter season coming up and the betrayals and the things, and I think that Shauna is kind of betraying her family and the things, or Callie, basically I believe Callie's the one that's doing all this stuff. You see Callie getting her phone out to record her dad, and Callie's the one driving her mom crazy. Callie's Shauna's Judas, but you're given a chance where can you heal yourself? Are you going to, like with the fruit, that's something we all have to live with. Adam ate, Adam ate the fruit. That was his one thing he was told by Eve in the garden. He didn't tell Eve, don't eat of this fruit. He didn't help warn her. He said, we can't eat this fruit, but he didn't like double check or make sure they weren't working together. And that's what this whole show's about is does the team going to work together? Does the team come and play their parts, different parts of the field, different parts of the body, however you want to name it. And what's happening here is like her going to church and recognizing that, we all played our certain parts. And despite how messed up it is, that girl, that she ended up marrying, Alex, or was part of this equation too, and Jeff and Callie are, and Shauna's not allowing them to be. Shauna's not allowing, or apples in the wormer's betrayal, but Shauna is just like, instead of just listening, and even in the tent earlier with their conversations, it's like she always has an excuse why she, or some sort of reason where she's projecting on, which is a narcissistic, a psychopathic trait, where it's everyone else's fault, except for mine. And she calls her out there and she hits her narcissistic wound. And I loved it so much because it's like, you just lie, deceive, and you cheat, and you make everyone else's lives miserable because you're not able to be miserable on your own. And I think you get off on causing the drama. And so that is really like what this was about. It was, the truth came out, and it came clearly out, so much to where that wild spark in Shauna just triggered and ignited, and that psychopath really just came out. And this is truly a psychopathic trigger, like what we witnessed here.
Yeah. So Melissa says something to the effect of, you want to burn everything down just so you can watch. And hold on, let me find the picture really quick. What Adam had said to her let me pull it up here. He said, every part of you wants to blow things up just so you can see what happens. And that's the truth. That's just how she is. She is just unhinged, and she and it's interesting that multiple romantic partners that she's had have the same observation. And Adam clocked her like immediately. He was like, you seem like a person who doesn't like to play by the rules. And this was before she was even like in her most, kind of unhinged state that she's been in, that we know her as. So it's pretty interesting. So one other interesting thing that Melissa says is that she's been seeing a therapist or speaking to, or well, she's not technically a therapist. She's not a doctor. She's more of an advisor, and her name is Barbara. And I was just dying because I don't know if I have
Wait, is this Barbara the banker?
No, what was her name? What's the name of the banker? I think Wild Marjoram knows the name of it. Who I was envisioning Barbara to maybe be, if I have the picture. I know.
Our Barbara is like from the first episode with Nat.
Barbara is,
I don't know.
Lottie's therapist, in my opinion. Wouldn't it just be interesting if they both have this like not therapist that they're speaking to in their mind? I don't know. Susan is the banker. Yes. We don't know Lottie's therapist name, but that was just what came to my mind. I was like, because Lottie had this therapist in season 2 who wasn't even real. She was like talking to herself, kind of guiding her through her wilderness urges and that kind of thing. Barbara is Aquila.
Yeah, Lola's killing me. Lola's killing me in the comments because she also put it earlier. I'm calling it now that it's Walter's sister. Or wait, where is it?
Oh, the one that wrote the anus book, or
I don't know. There was some comment. She's like, I'm calling it. It's okay. We love it. Keep calling it. Keep calling.
All right. But so things get escalated. So basically after Shauna says that that very Adam comment, Melissa says the Adam comment, Shauna loses it. And Melissa is she says, oh, I'm going to get a glass of water. Do you want one? She gets her a glass of water. She comes around to the table and she's trying to sneakily grab Shauna's knife. And Shauna kind of, sees what's happening. You can't pull one off on a mom like that. You can't pull one off on a mom like that. But so Shauna grabs her arm, and I can't tell exactly what she did. It almost looks like she ripped the arm out of its socket, the shoulder socket. I didn't see her like break the arm, but that was kind of the vibe I was getting. Maybe she ripped it out of the socket, knocked her to the ground. The two of them are fighting. They're punching each other. I was laughing super hard. And then finally, Shauna bites Melissa's arm and bites out a chunk of her flesh. And then she spits it out and she's like, eat it, or I'll tell your family what you are,
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a pervert. I just went straight to their sex life with this app. I'm like, this explains Shauna's domineering sex life. Probably what they did in their younger years in that little teepee. I don't know, but it just like it was so messed up. But like it just explains Shauna's whole domineering thing that she did with Adam too, by the way. Remember? And the mommy thing and
there was a cut scene of her and Adam when she literally almost kills him while they're like, she's like, he wants to be tied up, and then I think she's choking him, and then while she's choking him, she has a vision of Jackie. Jackie shows up and is like, oh, you're gonna hurt someone. And Shauna like comes to, and like this is all in the script from like episode 107 or something like that. And and so she literally almost like takes his life because she's having a vision of Jackie, and then like she comes to and he's like, but like
it was I don't know why I strawberry lube. Oh my Lord.
Interesting. Poor Jeff. Poor Jeff. We have a lot to say about Jeff this episode also. All right. So
Well, no, this is true. This is true. But there are some times where I've been grabbed pretty hard there. So wait, we haven't. I don't know if you don't want to say this. Let's next commentary.
We don't want to get demonetized, All right. But there was some eroticism to it. There was some like weird horror like aspect situation going on here. It was very freaky, and it also like there's a big implication to it because we talk okay, so first of all, there's a couple of mentions throughout this episode about making pacts, and actually on the Kevin Alves, the Travis interview that Yellowjackets Hive just posted, he mentioned in the interview, I was listening for a few minutes this morning, he says something about them making like these pacts and these blood oaths. And then they kind of mention it during, with Melissa and Shauna, where she's like, well, we can make all the pacts that we want, but, the only way to make sure that you're safe is for everyone else to be dead. And so I have a feeling we're going to see that in the next couple of episodes, some really intense oath keeping, some oath making or taking going on with the teen timeline. But Shauna is still the enforcer. Even as the adult, she's still, enforcing this rule and making sure those secrets are kept. And literally she's willing to go the distance. Like, if you don't keep that secret, I'll tell everyone. I don't even think that she would tell everyone who she is. Like, I think that's just like a nice warning. No, she's not. What's the point of telling Alex who you guys are? And wait, you're only incriminating yourself. The only way to resolve this situation, if Melissa doesn't want to play, or make the promise, sort of reestablish her oath or what have you, is she's gonna die. They can't let her live. Like, Shauna's too paranoid. And so I just have a feeling like this is gonna come in to play, like this oath that, the oaths that they've made. Like, if Melissa's not willing to, keep to that, then she's gonna have to pay the ultimate price, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like this comment here. Misty is the one that is like on it right now. I feel like she's being the queen. And then also Jen Hack, who joined us last week in the inner crowd. She's on the varsity. So she loves Jeff best. And I think it is like Jeff is man. We'll get into him later. But yes, Jeff is my MVP for this episode. Again, yeah. My wife is crazy, but you know what? She ain't me. Maybe Shauna Gangster's rubbing off on Jeff.
Maybe. I think he needed to reassert his male dominance. There was some reassertion of male, like there was some testosterone going on in this episode.
Especially with Travis.
Yeah, with Travis, with, a lot of them. So
it's ever since Kodiak appeared, I think there's a lot of reassertion of dominance up in here.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, the moment that Kodiak appeared at the camp, like Travis felt the testosterone flowing through his body. Like, he was like, I'm a man again.
I think every viewer in the entire world felt the testosterone of Kodiak up in here.
We needed that from Travis. I just needed it.
We needed it. We needed it for everyone.
So back at the hospital, we have Misty calling Shauna, and she is so pissed. She's like, where are you? How could you? Actually, I love what she actually says. Hey, Shauna, I'm just calling to say F you. Like, I loved that. But she's like, you need to turn around, get back here, or else you're going to regret it. Like, what are you doing? And then Taissa is speaking with a doctor, and the doctor is informing her.
You can't. The best part about Misty this whole show was like, Shauna, you better get back here. Thank you, please,
yeah,
and thank you.
There's always the little polite detail at the end. Even in this scene with Ty, after she like doesn't smother the guy with the pillow, she picks up the pillow and flattens it and like gives it a little fluff before walking out. We have to go. Yeah, it's really funny. Now, one of the things I will say about so basically the doctor is telling Taissa that Van, they can't really do anything more for her. She's at a place where they need to think about, transferring her to hospice care and keeping her comfortable for her remaining time. And Tai is just not willing to, face that fact. And one thing I really want to point out here is how Misty reacts. And in comparison to season 1, when Travis died and Misty was trying to comfort Nat about the situation, remember, she had to like literally look it up on her computer. She's like, how to comfort someone who's grieving. But now with Taissa, she was immediately just so there. Like, she was just like, is there anything I can do? I'm so sorry. Everything's going to be okay. She really, like, that empathy clicked in for her, and she was really there for Tai. And I just thought that was really touching. We've seen, Misty has evolved, and I really think that after experiencing Nat's death, that was so like detrimental and difficult for her, that's probably what sort of kicked that in, that sort of humanity that they all kind of lack. But with losing Natalie, it was just so heartbreaking for her that I think that now she has more empathy for others and their struggles.
Well, and she's wearing Natalie's mantles.
Yes.
She's wearing Natalie's outfits. Same with Lottie wearing Laurel's outfits. The mantles, we've talked about it with like prophetic mantles and this whole spirituality thing. And Nat was at a point where she's been healed, and she healed herself. And Misty, I think, is getting there too. And she's been healing herself this whole season with just standing up for her and saying, like even giving other people her own house, even though they're mad at them, but like, just or walking out. And the scene is kind of played funny, but like you have to look at the bigger picture and how her healing and where she's checking in with Jeff, and she's checking in with people, and even Walter too. She knows that she can't love unless she's loving herself. And there was a good comment here too about like Walter disappeared like the ring, and did you see that? Anyway, yeah, Misty is wearing the mantle of Nat, and also Nat gets rid of the coat and the whistle earlier. We'll talk about that later, but like, it's just something about that coat again being transferred as a mantle. And you see Taissa here in this scene wearing this big jacket of death, like the gray man or the dark eye, no man with no eyes jacket.
I love her outfit. She's like this sort of Grim Reaper-esque type person, is so like goth and intense. And you can tell like other Tai is really present. But one thing I noticed,
she was struggling to waiting for other Tai though before she did it. Like she was holding it there, like holding it, waiting for other Tai to take over, because now other Tai has a voice. She's giving her a voice. That's probably why. A lot of stuff with the political stuff too. This is how I see it, is that like right now, the politician is the other Tai, and like, they're sharing
always other Tai.
Yeah.
I think that, okay. So when she's standing there talking to the doctor, she's regular Tai. And what I noticed is, remember we talked in the last episode about her fingernails, how she had those crazy like fingernails with the rhinestones, and we're like, that's other Tai, because regular Tai would not wear those. Well, as she's standing there talking to the doctor, she's picking the nails off. She's pulling those nails off. So regular Tai is like, what the fuck? What are these? I would never wear these. So she's pulling them off. But then, they go into the room. They're like, okay, we got to take matters into our own hands. So Tai is like, thinks that she can do it, thinks she can follow through. And she can't. She almost tries, and poor Misty's back there like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But I like that she has that much humanity in her. Like there's that, she just can't go through to, and it's just a really interesting like inner battle that she's having with herself in that moment. And finally she's like, no, I can't do it. She pulls the pillow away and she screams in the guy's face. And then we see other Tai, seems to come through at that moment. Like she kind of screams him through. She's like, did that count? Which was really probably one of the funniest lines of the entire show so far.
That was count? So funny. That really was so funny. I was just like, because Taissa does not want to do it, and for sure. And Misty's like,
and then Misty's like fluffing the pillow. We gotta get out of here. So they book it out of there, and then So then Misty goes and she calls Jeff and she's like, look, where is Shauna? Like, is Shauna with you? Have you heard from her? Where is she? And Jeff's like, what do you mean? I thought she was with you. What's Shauna done now? We could call this could be the name of the show. We don't need to call it Yellowjackets. We can call it What Did Shauna Do Now? And so, just like we had an episode called Did Ty Do That? This episode is What Did Shauna Do Now?
Shauna
And
shenanigans.
yes. I saw this really funny tweet actually of people calling her various nicknames. They were calling her Shaunable Lecter. They were calling her what was it? There was a Hitler one. I can't remember what it was. There was just a bunch of different ones, but I thought Shaunable Lecter was quite funny and quite on the nose. All right. So Misty is calling Jeff and Jeff is just like, Jeff is overwhelmed with stress. I mean, we've seen him scratching and I don't know what your guys' opinions are on his scratches and his itching that he's got going on. I personally think it's related to stress. I do not believe that Jeff is involved with Lottie's murder. I just don't believe that he has it in him to, go to that place or be that cunning, especially after how things happened with the whole blackmail situation. So I think this is all stress related and Shauna is bringing it all on and he has no control over what she's doing, what she's getting up to. She's running around and even when he thinks she knows where she's at, or even when he thinks he knows where she's at, he doesn't. She's off doing something else where her friends don't even know where she is. And so she's just completely unpredictable and it's starting to get out of hand, out of pocket, out of control. And, at a certain point, like your husband is allowed to say like, okay, you know what? Like this is, everybody has a breaking point. And Jeff is literally having physical reactions to the stress that his wife is causing him. His daughter is missing school. His business is suffering. And, they haven't even been at home. And so he's like having this total panic attack. And, Misty's called him. That's not helping anything. They're at the restaurant, him and Callie. They're in the sort of restaurant of the hotel. The Joels are over there. They call him over. He does not want to go over there.
So wait, I like this part because this is what distinguishes him between him and Shauna. Shauna calls him the Joels. He actually stands up and says, actually, you know what? One of their names isn't Joel because that again is a narcissistic trait is you instead of people aren't people and names aren't important. They're either shitheads or they're this person or they're idiots or, they're bitchs and I don't know if I can say that on here, but like they'll generalize you as and they won't say your name. And it's so disrespectful. They itemize you or collaborate you or like how Shauna says to her about the doctor. Well, why do you call her Barbara? Because that's her name. They like to that's a huge psychopathic narcissistic trait is they will not call you by names. They'll call you baby names, my pet, my this and that, but your name does not matter. So the Joels, and then for Jeff distinguishing that they aren't the Joels, that's just what my wife does. He's really starting to again like make a turn and show his true character out again and realize like Callie is and him and Callie coming together that maybe mom just is freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Shauna is shipwrecked.
Yes.
Shauna snap. Shauna hammer.
Sorry, I pivoted. I went on.
Sorry.
I lost track and I went down the Jeff trajectory. But let's finish up with Ty and Misty in the hospital. So sorry. That was my fault. But Misty.
No, mine. It was mine, baby. It was mine, baby.
So Misty,
sorry.
She's trying to have this conversation with Jeff, and he, granted, like when Jeff asks, "Why are you guys at the hospital?" and Misty's like, "It's no big, it's not none of your concern." And part of me was like, "Hey, why don't you tell him the truth?" But also, in the state that Jeffrey is in with his stress, the last thing he needs to hear is that Van is sick and dying in the hospital. Because you know what? If we know anything, Jeff and Van kind of have their own little like friendship going on. And so I just was like, yeah, maybe it's best he doesn't know that right now. And hopefully she'll just pull through. But so then Taissa goes to Van's hospital room. And this is a really interesting scene because we can see her walk into the room, but then we see one of the Taissas, and this is her, regular self, is basically trapped outside of the room, and other Tai is going into the room. And we don't know exactly what she has in mind, but she's got a really like creepy look on her face. And the fact that she won't let regular Tai in is obviously indicating something is about to happen now. And what Taissa says is, you can't come, or she says, please let me in. I need to be with her. And other Tai's like, you won't do what needs to be done. Now, we talked about this a couple episodes ago with the whole Jennifer's body connection to Tai and Van with the box cutters. And what Jennifer's body is all about is about two best friends, one of whom is possessed by a demon, and the other friend has to kill her to rid her friend from the demon, but she actually has to kill her friend also. And then when she does kill her, she takes on some of the demon's essence herself. And so I have been speculating, like, is this what's going to happen with Tai and Van? Like, is there going to be some sort of demonic transference going on between them? And so I'm starting to wonder if that's what other Tai is like going in there to do. Like, is she about to transfer some of her demon? And we don't know what effect that's going to have on Taissa, on both of her states, her frames of mind. Like, or can the demon spread, and can he become more powerful and go into another vessel, jump into another vessel, or spread himself out, kind of thing, growing more and more powerful? That's kind of my thought of what's going on in this scene, and as to why like other Tai has to go in there. She says, you won't do what has to be done. Mandy, do you have any thoughts on that?
It was yeah, so I really liked it because now they're actually conversing with each other. And like I said before, like it just gives she's given them space and for the demon to have a voice, and she's inviting the demon in to do the things that she doesn't want to do, and the demon's taking over. So I mean, I really do still think that Tai is up for the person who killed Lottie, just to do a trade. But and then as soon as, like in the car in the previous episodes, when Van stopped believing, is when Van got sick again. So, that's kind of like how that works, is that they will just, as soon as you stop to believe, is when you get power. And if you're believing in a certain entity, is when you give them that power. When you say their name is when you call and give them their power.
Yeah.
So, this all is all full circled, whether we want to like it or not, whether you want to try to put it with one religion or one thing or one demonology or Jesus. When you say the name of Jesus, they call upon the power. It's supposed to clear out anybody over Trump. So we'll see, like, who's trumping this card. I don't know.
Yeah. This was it's pretty intense.
Yeah, and then Tai, like, here they're bound together, and she has made a pact, and it seems from this episode she made a pact, since it seems like they're going to make the pact next, and the oaths, like we talked about next episode, is there's going to be some real oaths going on with these eyes and these things, and her, and each one of them with their so-called vice, so-called thing to see, and coincidentally Misty in this episode with her glasses and the ability to see. I mean, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's move on to Jeff and Callie, and we will get into their troubles. So they're at the hotel restaurant. The Joels are there, or Joel and I don't know what the other guy's name is. Anyways, they call him over, and Jeff is really like trying. He's just not in his, he's not in his testosterone place. He's not in his manly vibes. He's extremely stressed about all the stuff that Shauna is doing to him. And so when he goes over to those guys, he's sort of, you can smell the desperation coming off of him, unfortunately, when he's like, hey, just give me another chance. And they're like, oh, we've decided to go in another direction, and it's furniturefam.net. You can't go.
Oh my gosh.
.net.
I
So
died when I said when Jeff was like, "It's the furniture fan, that neck guy," and then Callie's like, "What, Dad? Don't worry about it. You go over there." Like Callie's wearing the balls in the
yeah.
situation, but here's the thing though, like when you're a single parent and when you don't have your other alter parent helping you, like I had to become very manly when my his son's father wasn't around as much as I wanted it to be. And I ended up being very boyish and very like that and very non-maternal girly like I used to be. And I mean, there could be a couple other reasons, but that's another day. But there is a thing going on there where you as a parent you need that balance, and he's right now is giving that maternal instinct and trying to be as much of both parents sides to Callie as possible. And even Callie saying, "Dad, get together," and he's like, "Okay, you know what, I have to for Callie." And pretty much everything he's done for Shauna. And I think he's realizing at this point that like Shauna doesn't deserve it, and she's been continuing no matter how many chances and tries and how much he knew about her, and he let her be, and he understands that secrets are her love language, quote unquote. He is still feeling very much like Melissa did, left and abandoned when they need them. And so when he first went over, it was like, yes, I really want another chance to talk to you guys, like please, like let's do this the right way. But then I think with when Callie and them go back to the room, and after he feels embarrassed, and after them, just assuming, because like this comment with children disgusting, they assume that like his daughter was his,
Yeah.
like,
Lover or something.
or something, no hate on sex workers or whatever, but like I'm just saying, like that was just the first instinct. And so what, his first instincts kicked back in, and Callie's saying, you know what, listen, let's go home, let's make this right, like you need to understand it. And so I think that him going up and then him still saying, hey, you know what, my wife is crazy, but the boring comment, yes, Jeff, MVP. Because like I mean, who here hasn't freaked out like Jeff and screamed into their pillow when they're fret? Like
Yeah.
I felt that scene to me, like, and if you've been following the podcast the past 2-3 years, y'all know I've been going through that. That is what I've been going through. But I'm being like Jeff now, and I'm feeling like, yes, Jeff, MVP, go. You know what? You ain't boring, Jeff. And sometimes a simple, boring life. I mean, I wish my life was a lot more simple sometimes. I really honestly do. So good Jeff. And he has good furniture, and he might be available. So like, let's see.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like, so there's this moment with Callie and Jeff, and like Callie does call her mom, and she leaves her a message, and she's like, "You're breaking, Dad. Like, we just want to know that you're okay. Can you please just let us know you're not dead," kind of thing. And finally she steps up and she goes out there, and Jeff's, kind of having just this basically panic attack about the whole situation, rolling around in the bed, frustrated, leaving Misty multiple messages like, what is going on? Just tell me so we can work on this together. So finally Callie goes in and she's like, Dad, you need to get it together. I need to say something. And she says, I don't think that there's anything, I don't think anyone's trying to hurt Mom. I think that, this is something between the Yellowjackets, and they went through some stuff and they're messed up, and Lottie's death has nothing to do with us. It's obviously like whatever's in their heads. And Jeff agrees, and he's also like, you need, a parent right now. You need somebody to be a good parent to you right now. And she's like, what? And so, and like I said, like, they've been stuck in this hotel, cooped up. Callie hasn't been able to go to school even longer than the fact that she was suspended. Jeff is not able to go to work, so his business is suffering, or he's putting a lot of trust in his employees. All of these things, like, they've put their lives on hold for Shauna to have like a mental breakdown, and it's just too much for them to like be carrying all of her burdens. And I'm starting to see, I think they're going to get to a breaking point, at least between Shauna and Jeff. That's kind of like my assessment, but I could be wrong. But I do think Wild Marjoram, hopefully soon, hopefully someday. It's on the It's on the wish list. It's on the dream board. Okay, so Jeff, he kind of like sits up and kind of gets it together and, gets back into dad mode. And he looks at his daughter and he's like, okay, we're getting out of here. Let's go home. This is too much. So they pack their stuff. And I really loved that moment. It was like really nice to see Jeff, like, just step back into being the father of the family and being like, no, executive decision being made. We're going home. We're done playing these crazy games. And we're being left with all these questions. She's not telling us what's going on. Fuck this. And so I was really proud of Jeff in that moment. And then they go down, and I love this little scene where he's at the front desk and he's checking out. Like, that was the same woman from the front desk at the Jolly Hitcher back in season 1 when Shauna and Adam were there. Just so shout out to the actress who plays Jordan. Thanks for being here for us. But I love that little scene with Jeff where he's like, I love the face-to-face. But then they see the Joels again, and Jeff, kind of feeling a little more filled with testosterone or what have you, he goes up to them and, I love this. He's like, he's like, my wife is the reason that our dinner was ruined. And she's the reason that most people are unhappy. She's miserable, but I'm not miserable. I'm a happy guy. People like, me, and they like my products. And I think you should give me another chance. And if you don't want to, well, then you're probably as boring as the women you F, so,
Yeah.
or something to that effect. And so,
even though they don't really even have sex anymore, but
yeah, exactly.
But he still stood up for her, and he's affable.
Yes. And what's so funny is he went to the classic Shauna line of, boring women, you better not be boring kind of thing. And so that's, obviously he likes his women spicy just like Shauna does. So, but yeah. So that's about that for the adult timeline. So a lot of really exciting stuff. But let's go ahead and we'll get into the teen timeline next.
Well, Carl says they're going to do their special bikini dance. Is this going to be like Baywatch?
Just take my word for it. All right. Let me get some.
All right.
Hold up here. So in the teen timeline, there's a lot going on, obviously. So basically we start out, well, we have Travis and Akilah, and they are following Kodiak out of the woods. And like we said earlier, like the moment Kodiak stepped into the camp, Travis, like the testosterone filled his body. He became a man again. He was like, and there's kind of this dynamic with Kodiak where he's kind of looking at him like, why aren't you running stuff? You're the guy out here, sort of thing. So like Kodiak definitely has, some of that masculine energy, which maybe not all Yellowjackets fans are too keen on, but it's an interesting dynamic because he is the one who can get them out of there. So obviously that energy is, serves a purpose. Akilah is kind of like, what are we doing? We should not be leaving the rest of the group behind. This isn't a good idea. And
okay,
Travis turns to her and he's like, look, Akilah, chill. Like, we have to do this. And the visions you were having weren't real. You were just huffing gas in a cave, just like I was being fed mushrooms, and Lottie was like telling me what all that meant. So we have a better chance out here to get out on our own and sending someone back for the rest of them. And part of that I think is like true, but also part of it is like, I think he's actually, he's afraid of the other girls, and he's afraid of going back and them saying, no, you're not leaving, or them even being as unpredictable as to harm Kodiak to where they were unable to get out anyways, So
I like
go ahead.
This is just that Travis was never part of the pack or team, and he wasn't. But Akilah was. And so that's how I saw Akilah. I'm like, Akilah, Akilah is always loyal and part of the team in this. But like, I mean, do we think Travis was right? This is also like parallel to to like the in between of where Shauna and Melissa are. Is that should I stay or should I go now if I know there will be trouble? Like one of these things. You think it was right, Aaron? I don't think it was right.
Look,
what do you guys think? What do you think? Aaron, you tell me what you think while they're telling us.
I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's right or wrong, but for the circumstances, I don't blame Travis for making that call and making that decision. However, if they would have continued and let's just say things went well and they found their way out of the wilderness, wouldn't it be interesting if like still no one was ever able to find the other girls and then they have to live with that guilt of being the two who made it out when they could and then they left everyone. So like there's this double-edged sword kind of going on. There's a catch-22 kind of going on because, it's not necessarily the wisest decision wandering off into the woods with this guy who does know how to survive in the woods. And there's only two of them. And eventually, you guys are going to have to go to sleep or he's strong enough to overpower them. I mean, let's be real. And so it's not the smartest idea, but it's like, when you're faced with that opportunity and knowing how the other girls are, and Travis knows how they are, and he also knows Lottie's secrets about the fact that back in society, she was on medication, that she had to see multiple psychologists. Travis is the only one who actually knows about that. So he has a different view of Lottie and her perspective on things out there now, to where he's kind of just playing the game. He's playing along. He's just trying to get by. But I also think in his logical mind, he knows that this is not real. Just like he tells Akilah, this isn't real. We have to go back to real life. This isn't real. And also, not to mention, okay, Ty, Shauna, and Lottie all have their reasons why they don't want to leave. But Travis, on the other hand, does. He has a good reason to want to get out of there because it was him, his brother, and his dad who crashed, and 2 out of the 3 of them died out in the wilderness. So I can only imagine how desperately Travis actually wants to get out of there and get back to his mom, just to say, Mom, I'm alive. I'm okay. We didn't all die out there. There would be this heart-wrenching feeling that he has to carry around about in a different way than the others, about their own family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I do. And these are good points. I do think that probably though that if they do send the smaller group versus the whole group, the whole group's gonna slow them down. This is smart, but maybe Travis just wanted Joe McHale all to himself. maybe that's where they're going.
The ways of the wilderness.
Come on. LGBT unite. But anyway, Mandy doesn't rock with this cash spot. Okay, Mandy still thinks that's a good idea that they did go back, but I feel like if they wouldn't have been caught by the team, and then they would have been more supportive of the decisions to go back. And
yeah, I mean, it's tough. There's no perfect answer in the situation. So it's kind of, I can understand why he makes that decision, but I can see from a logical perspective, yeah, it's probably smarter to go back to the group and get them all strength in numbers kind of thing. Is a factor, maybe not with Edwin's circumstances, but when they're trying to protect themselves as a whole, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Also, I think if Kodiak does apply to old school viewers, right, or old school laws where Travis and Akilah saved his life, maybe he owes a life debt. Whereas to the other girls, Travis knows that this guy would probably murder him.
Yeah, that's a fair point also, the wilderness balance, because Kodiak seems very in tune with that. So he seems to understand the give and take of the wilderness.
Yeah, and it's despite being afraid of the girls, the girls murdering him, he has that guy is a beast. That guy can take out all of those girls. Yeah.
I could take him out too. Anyways, on a date.
Bear down. On a bear. I want him, me, and the fireplace and the bear rug.
Yeah, for real.
Bear. Let's use all of our bear analogies here.
Indeed. Bears. That's what my daughter always says. Bears.
And you know what? I worked at a strip club called the Bears. Woo! So we're just gonna once upon a life.
You guys don't even know the kind of wilderness lifestyle Mandy's lived.
Bro, for real. Like 10 of them. 10 of them.
Kind of them. Okay, so Misty lost her glasses. And the poor I just feel for her so much in this scene. I'm like, Misty, no. Like, I was like, this would be my worst fear. Like, because I'm literally as blind as Misty. So if I drop my glasses out in the woods, I would be out there just guys, like it would be the worst. I just felt so bad for her in this scene. I just was like, oh my God, Misty, no, they're gonna leave you out there to die and you're never gonna find your way out. Thankfully she crawled around. She found her glasses after a few minutes, thankfully. Still just a terrifying situation. They are broken. So this gives us our reason how her glasses were broken, which we do see in the pilot episode when Misty is the one who is the face reveal during the pit girl scene. So she has her glasses back. She finds the fuzz. So Akila's been leaving little pieces of fuzz from her sweater around on branches to make a trail. So Misty, thankfully, she finds it. She's able to kind of track them. She runs back to the camp and she tells the group there, I found their trail. And back at the camp, the girls are they've brought Hannah back and they're all gathered around her and they're asking her a bunch of questions, trying to figure out, where are they? What's going on? Did Mulder and Scully get together? I mean, the important questions here. And so Nat kind of takes the lead and she says, everybody shut up. Oh, go ahead. What's that?
I'm sorry. I thought you were telling me to shut up, and it made me laugh harder because I loved it. Eat it. Tell me to eat it, Aaron. Go ahead. Yeah. This right here, I died laughing on the floor. Like, I literally started rolling on the floor, and I rewound it like 5 times. Just like what day is it? What day? Where are we? What day is it? Mm-hmm. Did Mulder and Scully get together?
It's the important questions, I think that.
Yes, hello, spiritually and in aliens. I mean, what's going on in Yellowjackets? Mulder and Scully should be investigating this. I don't know why they aren't even in the show. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Shauna's like giving her the hard questioning. She's being sort of the, what's the word I'm trying to think? The interrogator or what have you. And we have this great moment that I absolutely loved where Hannah asks Shauna, are you like the captain or something? And Nat's like, she's not the captain. And then Shauna replies, hold on, I'm going to pull up. I have screenshots from all of them, but she says, neither are you. And then Nat has the perfect response to really shut Shauna right down when she says, yeah, because she's effing dead. So and this is obviously a reference to Jackie. And this is great because Nat, she's like, okay, well, I've been dethroned because of her decision, about Coach Ben, but also she still only acknowledges Jackie as their leader or as their captain. Oh, captain, my captain. And I just think that's really beautiful. Nat is just so morally pure. Like, bless her heart. She's just wonderful. But yeah, so they're all asking Hannah a bunch of questions and Hannah really has no answers, which kind of drove me insane. Yes, they're asking her like 20 questions all at once, but like the least you could do is say where we are. We can't say where we are. She says, I don't know where we are. You don't know where we are? You don't know, are we in Canada? Are we in the United States? Are we in British Columbia? Are we in Alberta? Are we in Ontario? You can't give us that much. Come on.
Well, she wasn't given time though either. I mean, she's like, she's in fear of her death. She's like, I am not even sure because the guide led us. But like, I mean, yes, you're right. They could have at least given her a general location zone. But at the same time, like what's so crazy about this, and we have to look at the bigger picture again. She's the scientist. So we're talking scientist versus spirituality right here. This is like a great physical metaphor of what this is and the questions that we all want answered in life. You know, whether it be whatever your question is, ask the magic 8 ball, wrestle with the hand. I don't know, like wherever. What's that machine where they have to ask?
Oh,
Put the
yes,
quarters in.
fortune teller
What
guy.
yeah, what are things? And it's, it's bigger than this. Like this is perfect physical play out of these deeper metaphorical questions that we have. And yes, they're not asking deep questions, they're asking simple questions, but that's a lot of times in life it is so simple. And when we go back to Shauna's and Kelly's or Melissa's conversation, it could be that simple life. It could be that simple, boring life. Should you want it? Are you making it more complex? Are you making it harder yourself? These are just not the answers you want. And that's another thing. That's another great, in writing and in just philosophy, like these are not the answers we want.
Yeah.
And where are we going to, when you go and search for the answer you want, you're going to find it, like Shauna is doing right now. She's coming up with all these crazy psychotic ideas, trying to make the answer she wants to be true and trying to find any kind of thing to piece it together. And they're not quite all piecing together. There's the best she can do. And despite the truth, they don't want to hear the truth. And this is what's probably going to happen to poor Hannah, is they don't want to hear the truth. And right now they're kind of like insinuating that they're going to have to trade her in to save their lies and their lives and their lives so that they don't get in trouble. But because they don't want no one to know the truth. And, she's just being truthful. She doesn't know. She needs Kodiak. She needs the things. And who knows how long they were camping even, like, because by the time that it looked out, like with his feet and Edwin's feet and all that stuff, it looks like they had been out there for quite some time and not a short amount of days, even though we got a 3-day thing. It looks like they had been out there for quite some more time than that.
Well, so I'm guessing at the most that they had been out there for 6 days because they're still relatively clean. Like Edwin and Hannah were still relatively clean, but also Kodiak says it's a 6-day hike to the rescue point. So whatever the rescue point is, is this a cabin? Is this an airstrip? Is this a Forest Service station? Something like that. What is at this 6-day mark? But basically he says it's a 6-day hike out of there. And if they can all, keep up. And I think that the Yellowjackets are all like relatively pretty fit, pretty used to being out there. So I think that, 6 days seems about right.
Well, there's 12 of them, right? So 6 is half the number. So the team's going to have to divide for sure. And that's probably why we got such a division in this episode.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Hannah does tell him, she's like, look, I can't get you out, but Kodiak can get you out. He's our guide. I don't know where I am. I don't know anything. So Misty, she comes rushing back into the camp. She says, I found their trail. So the girls get together and they decide to go find the rest of them, to find Travis, Akilah, and Cody. And Shauna tells Ty, stay here, keep an eye on her. And then she sees Lottie also there, just still covered in blood. She's like, yeah, keep an eye on her too. And in that moment, we hear in the background, there's a conversation with Jen and Melissa where Melissa's saying, I'm coming too. And Jen's basically telling her, no, you should stay. Like, you should stay and rest. And Melissa's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. Remember, she got shot with a giant arrow. Actually, my husband gave me one of those arrows. Hold on. I'm going to get the arrow so I can show you guys. Hold on.
Arrow. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go to the chat and I'm just going to like rahala at the chat.
It's just right
here. You shot an arrow through my heart. Yeah.
I just
Aaron did.
We have weapons and gun cases and things.
Shot an arrow.
You guys can kind of see how intense and huge. Like, here's my finger. Okay, that's the size of the arrow that went through the poor girl. All right, and it's a prong. You can't really see it very well.
Look at the blue tag, not the red tag. Blue tag.
Wait, hold on. How do I do this? What? Just show me. Never mind. I don't know. Okay, but you guys can kind of see. I mean, they're big, gnarly suckers. They're three-sided, meant to kill bears. I mean, they're intense, right? So, hold on. Where are we, Mandy? Are you there? Okay.
Yeah.
We're back.
Aaron shot me out.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Shut up, Mandy.
So, okay. So they decide to go and yeah, so Melissa, I guess she has no internal damage. I guess it was just a clean through and through. We don't have to worry about any lungs being deflated or anything. I guess that's that. All right. But so the group, they go and they track Akila's trail, and thankfully Akila's kind of dragging behind. She's like, oh, I have a rock in my shoe, or oh, my shoe came untied, whatever. She's like, hold on, give me just a second. And then as she's kind of crouched down there dealing with her stuff, she sees a little rustle of the wilderness. The wilderness communicates to her, which is actually just the girls, indicating that they are surrounding them. So Akila stands up and she pulls up the gun and she's like, all right. And the rest of the group come out and they're like, okay, we're going back. And Travis is kind of caught off guard in that moment. He and Kodiak had plans. And so, yeah, there's kind of this, but then finally Travis is like, oh, actually turn around, let's go, and tries to get all tough. But yeah, so that's not so great because Shauna can definitely recognize there's something going on there. But they make their way back to the camp and they're kind of asking Akila and Travis, like, what were you guys doing? Where were you going? And Travis is not the best liar, like right there on the spot. And so Akila kind of covers for him. So we're seeing like more and more of this dynamic between Travis and Akila, which I absolutely love because I kind of ship them a little bit. Okay. Like I just love this dynamic. And I think it's more of like a protective kind of thing going on, because the thing about it is, and Travis even says this to Akila, I didn't choose you because you were seer. He's basically like, I chose you because I needed to get Lottie off of my back. And I think we both know that that's the truth. But Akila is going through something. She's experiencing something out there. So she's kind of dismisses what Travis said. And also it's kind of difficult to hear that after those experiences that she's had, those visions that she's had. And so just to reinforce that, later, we have that moment with Akila where she's actually having a vision where she's not even, around the gases. And we don't know if maybe she's having long-term effects from being exposed to the gases and that kind of thing, which can cause hallucinations. But she does see the animals around the camp and the plants all dead. And then she realizes, well, that's not the case. But Lottie comes up and she's like, did you see something? Which was like so perfectly creepy of her. But okay, interesting. The three-eyed bear is Lottie. Interesting.
That could be like why she's so like from her dream or before. Because I'm like, that was such a weird thing. But like why she kind of now is like nightmarish over Lottie being the bear. And that could explain a little bit of her dream. Like, and as Kelly talks about how she has daydreams and nightmares about it. And like, that's a great actual point. I really like that. Like, I mean, I kind of conspicuated it with Lottie too, but now that you're making this comment here and we're talking about it here, there's a lot more to that. Thank you for this comment.
Yeah.
But she's Akila. I mean, Akila picked up the gun. Just how Lottie picked up, ready to stab. Like, this is the first time we see Akila like this. She's not. Yeah. She's a very docile, like, submissive type. Not killing.
Yeah, she's a nice girl. So yeah, it is a new side to her. But also she like felt threatened, and that protective instinct. Like she's not just a passive, like just the oracle, right? Like she can stand up for herself. She can be strong, and she's not just a pushover. She's not somebody that Lottie has just been, telling her what's what. Like, I think that was like an opportunity to prove that to Travis, where she's like, oh, you think that you're just telling me what I'm seeing? You think you get to tell me, you're dictating to me what I'm experiencing? no, actually, let me dictate to you what you're about to experience. And
I
she pulls a
love
gun
that.
on him.
I love that. Actually, you know what? Yes. Yes.
I love Akila. Okay.
Mm.
Like she has really become, hold on, come on, Akila. She's really become one of my very favorite characters this season. I unexpectedly, like, I really like, she's just come out of left field and she is killing it. I just love it. I love
Listen,
her character. I love
left
everything they're doing
field.
with her.
Left field is very hard to play. I just want to say because I played left field. So it's where most of the balls are actually hit. So she's getting all the balls, and now she's got plenty to come at you. And yeah, she's a bad man pajama.
Very, very true.
She's a bad llama mama. Dreaming far, she can dream.
So Lottie, as they're all standing back at the camp as a group, they basically decide, okay, we're gonna pack up our stuff and we're all gonna go out together. It's a 6-day hike, and Kodiak says, "Yeah, I can get you out of here." They say, and Misty kind of comes up and she's like, "Well, what if they tell people like what they saw?" And Kodiak's like, I didn't see shit. And Hannah's like, "We'll tell people whatever you want us to tell." And it's like, yeah, that's kind of a hard thing to guarantee back once they get back. But also it's like kind of a risk you have to take. And also it's like, yeah, and Van makes this point later, like all these, things that they did out there to survive kind of, going home outweighs the potential risk of, getting in trouble for what they had done out there. And even Edwin, like, and them walking into their camp and then Lottie like attacks him. I'm pretty sure they could probably paint that, in a legal way if they really had to. I think they could probably paint that as self-defense if they really, really needed to. I mean, Lottie's dad's rich enough to have a good lawyer. So I think they could, maneuver the situation. But Lottie stands up and she's like, "No, we should not go back. I just don't think this is a good idea. We don't belong there anymore." And Nat just kind of looks at her and she's like, "Well, why should we listen to you, Lottie?" She's standing there covered in blood, looking like a psycho. And so, still wearing last night's clothes. And so she kind of shuts her down, and Nat's like the organizer, and she's telling everyone, "All right, pack your bags, pack enough for 6 days. We're hiking out of here. Let's get it. Let's do this." And so everyone's really excited and they're all like packing. But then we have this moment with Lottie and Shauna, and they kind of look at each other, and you can see that Shauna is sort of in that same place that Lottie is, where she's like, I'm not ready to go home. Like, I don't think that this is a good idea.
So
But
this is a good. Can
go
we
ahead.
talk about this? This is a good. Oh wait, why didn't they about burying Edwin? Like, why they chose to bury? Because like it just reminds me they're full circle. For in the beginning of the plane crash, they ended up burying the bodies, right? And
Mhm.
then now because they're feeling more alive, and instead of that animalistic nature, and knowing that they in that hope that they're going to be saved, like, oh, now they're back to like civilized people. Let me bury the body, not eat it. Like, I mean,
It's interesting because,
yeah.
I think there's like something to Nat taking his bones back to the plane, because they had done the same thing with Jackie's bones originally. I don't know if you
Uh-huh.
remember that from season 2, but she took her
Yeah.
back to the plane, yeah, after they had eaten her. So, and then they bring her bones back again later because she's buried, because remember during the solstice,
Yeah.
she they basically, there's been 5 people who have died, but they only make reference to 3. They make reference to Jackie, Javi, and the baby. And my thought that the reason for that was because they had the remains of those, because they didn't have the remains for Crystal and they didn't have the remains for Laura Lee. So that's kind of why I assumed that sort of was part of that. But
Well, so like in the Bible, like when you bring the bones back, well, there's the Valley of the Dry Bones where like you can breathe life back into the bones and bring back their spirit at least, and bodies. But then there's also the prophets, like Ezekiel, and then there was I think like Abraham or Elijah, not Elijah. I'm not sure, but I just know that like keeping the bones together gives a chance of new life. But I thought it was weird that she brought it back to the plane, because if spiritually speaking, then now he's stuck in the spiritual plane. And also with the whole jacket and the whistle. I mean, come on, it's getting cold. The whistle is like a number one lost in the wilderness thing to have, because when you get lost, you need a whistle, and so you can blow so people can find your location. I mean, I just think it was kind of silly how they didn't, like, she didn't think that. But I get why she's bringing his belongings with him and stuff like that. But to the plane, why? Like, it's a sweet moment, but it's also like, I guess to me, I guess the plane represented that spiritual plane, like that veil where they could open the doors, and not being so connected to that level, and her being the queen, with her like saying, "Hey, no, you're not going to be able to. We're going home. You're not going to keep us. I'm leaving. It's time to go."
Yeah, it's interesting. And what's interesting about her taking Coach's bones back there too is like there's probably evidence of them eating his body, because there a lot of times on old bones there will be evidence like of them cutting or oh yeah, knife mark.
Yeah.
Husband's back here. I showed him your arrow, dear. It's over here. But yeah, so like there'll be teeth marks, there'll be knife marks, from them being butchered and that kind of thing. And so that's how they can find evidence of like ancient, cannibalism from, thousands of years ago and that kind of thing. They find these old bones in like caves and that kind of thing. And they're like, well, there's actually evidence here of this being cut or this being, whatever. And so, yeah, so I don't know, like it's sort of incriminating evidence, and why didn't they bury his bones? It is interesting, but I do think there's something to like almost
the
this
whistle.
Yeah, but also like the spirit, like you said, it's like a spiritual plane on the plane, and so it's almost like she was like, you know what, you died in the plane. Like it's almost like a symbolic. You died in the plane crash, just like Jackie. You died on the plane crash. Like you just couldn't handle it out here. You gave us life, and that's the only thing you could do out here. And so this is, let me return you to the place where you actually died,
Yeah, or let me get you stuck here as a ghost in the wilderness.
Or that.
Or
that, good point, fair point.
Headless Horseman, it's really Coach Ben. Oh.
Headless Horse Ben? I don't know. Okay, so moving on. So,
Walt Havisham lives.
Yes, indeed. So then we get to this next part. So basically the group tell Hannah and Cody that they need to bury Edwin's remains, which is somewhat of a sort of pact like behavior. Like, okay, this is our pact. We have to bury this guy. Like, we're the ones that, so they're kind of bringing them into the fold of like, now you're an accomplice. You're burying bodies. So there's something there to that. Of course, it's not their fault by any means, but it is what it is. They're brought into it. Mari is the overseer, and which is interesting because they're digging a pit. And so Mari, having this, she's our lack of a better term, she's our living pit girl. And so but as she's standing there, they're starting to, the hope is returning. The hope in the group is returning. So she's having a vision. She's drinking this Slurpee, and Misty has a vision that she's sitting on the toilet and she has toilet paper. And that would just be a very glorious thing to look forward to. And then Van is so happy, and she's imagining she's laying in like a white fluffy bed with blankets and pillows, and she's just, and then, Ty comes along and interrupts the whole thing with her sadness. So basically, Ty is like, well, what if we can't be together once we get back? Do you really think that things have really changed, and all the things that have happened to us out here, like this place is going to follow us for the rest of our lives, and no one is talking about that? All the things we've done out here, they could ruin our lives. Even, we have to trust that we're all going to be keeping lies upon lies, for each other. And that's a lot of hope, to be placing on everyone. And so Van is kind of like, it doesn't matter. Like, going home outweighs those risks. Like we said, this is the most important thing. We have to get back. And we see this like we talked about Travis's desire to go back and why he kind of has, his desire to. But like with Nat and Van, who neither one of them have very good home lives, and yet they're kind of the two most gung-ho about getting back home. And I don't know what that says other than like maybe they have a different perspective, because even though they have this terrible home life, maybe they have this perspective that actually being out here is worse than that. And so going back home would be comforting and feel better than this. But I don't think that that's actually true, like in the long run. And we learn that when we see their future selves, this wasn't all that. Maybe they were better. Maybe they were thriving better out there. Granted, there's a lot of sacrifice and violence and things like that come along with it. But, they're just getting into the swing of things. They're about to go into their second winter. They're a little more prepared. They're, have all these plans. They're raising animals. They're raising food and all this kind of stuff. So they're in a better position than they were the year prior. Not that it's ever like, it's probably, it's not the best idea to say, okay, we're just throwing in the towel, we're going to stay out here kind of thing. But it's just something to like contemplate, like the balance of this, like what's the real cost and why some of them would want to stay versus some of them being so gung-ho to get home to where we know they don't even really have a very good home life. You know what I'm saying? So then we see Ty, and she has the man with no eyes, like breathing down her neck. So that must have been that state of mind that she was in, that frame of mind that she was in when she's talking to Van and kind of speaking of her worst fears to Van. Oh, well, what if we can't be together when we get back? And all of this, we have to put all of this behind us kind of thing. And maybe that's something that Van doesn't feel the pressure that Ty does, because Van doesn't necessarily, I don't know what her goals in life are after high school and that kind of thing. But we know Ty has huge goals, that she wants to be a lawyer, that she wants to, go to college, to be this successful person, and eventually become a politician. And so, yeah, it's just this kind of inner battle that she's having with herself and her own, like putting limitations on herself for her own, like they're like mental limitations that no one else has spoken into reality except for her. And honestly, like being a lesbian in 1996, 1997 was not the craziest thing ever. So like them being like, well, we can't be together when we get back. Like, yeah, it was not common, but I'll tell you right now, I had a best friend growing up, and in 1997, she knew she was a lesbian, and she didn't like receive a bunch of hate about it. So like, I don't know, there's just something there. Like Ty is gonna limit herself on her own. You know what I'm saying? Like any kind of limitations in their home life, she's gonna bring that upon herself.
Just how, yeah. I mean, Ty is always worried about what the voters would think, but like this season, she's not, or worried about what everyone else would think, and she ruined her whole life not marrying Van, but then ended up, being such a hypocrite and doing it probably, and marrying just a rich version of Van that helped, push her agenda. And right now, I don't think her parents drove them or whatever. I just don't think that them coming out would be the best for them when they get home for her life. But I mean, Van is all about it. And I hated to watch that, because like, yeah, I do think that, at that time it was such a crucial moment for people coming out, and Ellen started it all, and Ellen and like all these things are coming out. The Birdcage, I mean, come on, like one of the best movies in my entire life. And I just really think this is this embodies fear. This is what happens when the fear came out of her, the fear of being yourself, the fear of taking over versus walking boldly in who you are as you're supposed to be. And it was just a sad thing to me. I got so mad and hated Taissa so much. And I think that like that's gonna play. I mean, you're gonna see like this, like Shauna basing it like, yeah, I'm fear of this and I'm afraid of you. But like she, Melissa does the opposite. Melissa's like, I was afraid, but I still did what I had to do when I was afraid, versus
Yeah.
like run or hide or kill or lie, cheat, and deceive. And Melissa sees that in all of them. And
Mhm.
you know, I just hate that like they ruin everyone else's chances and lives and chances to be free and live because they don't get their chance, or they don't take their own chance to be free and live, or they
Yeah.
weren't ready. Ty wasn't ready, so she says, oh, I want to stay too, because she wasn't ready to like let go of what she really wanted,
Mhm.
and being a freaking little brat, to be honest with me. Like, I mean, that's what I saw it as. Is like, again, with Shauna, like that's Melissa's my toy. She's not a person, or Van's my toy. Like, Van is not, I feel like that's how they're treating them. Again, that narcissistic kind of way.
Yeah.
Just, they're not people to them. They're more like objects that make them happy, because they don't know where to find true happiness, or know how to actually mentally process that emotional feeling that they have, or emotional intelligence that they need to really get through this. And,
Well,
or
and
go
like
ahead.
Van and Melissa both have this sort of lightheartedness about them, to where they're like, even Van says something like, I think Ty says, well, how do you have hope? And Van says, because me, or something, like, I can't even remember like the exact, but she says, that's just how she is. And Melissa's kind of the same way. As soon as it was funny because so Melissa and Shauna, they're like kind of getting into this argument, and Melissa says, I can't wait to get away from you, is what she says to her, which was like a way to like stick it right to her. But she realizes that Shauna is kind of a miserable person, and Jeff knows that too. But like, so being around, like, misery loves company. And so when someone's miserable, they, want to bring you down with them. And so with Melissa trying to move on, trying to be this resurrected version of herself, it's like we can see that lightness to her, versus Shauna, who's seeing this death's head moth above her as she's
Shot
talking about all of her hopes and dreams and the things that she wants to do once they get out of there and she gets back to her real life.
Shauna shipwrecked with the
Yeah.
custom of the sea.
Interesting.
I like this. I like this comment, especially Shauna shipwreck.
Yeah.
Shipman. Wait, what was it? What did I say? Shauna. What's her
I think
name?
that was it. Yeah.
No, last episode with the Canadian Shauna Palin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wild Marjoram said something over here that was a good comment. I don't know where it went. But yeah, but anyways,
This one right here made me think like about being bisexual, or when I'm a lesbian, but when I'm not.
yeah,
Sneaky.
absolutely.
So am I a Slurpee or am I IC? I'm not sure.
Okay, I think you're Slurpee. You're name brand, babe.
I mean, I like it all. Let's just go there.
All right. And then, at the end of this scene, also, we have Melissa asking Shauna and handing her little knife sheath that she'd made for her. And she says, are you going to take this back with you? And I think that is really symbolically important, because we've talked about what that sheath, that scabbard kind of represents. And it's definitely like some masculine energy. Obviously, the knife is a male, has male connotation, male, association. It's a phallic symbol. Yeah. And so Shauna wielding that while she's also sort of like transcending this sort of masculine, like lesbian energy or whatever. She's like playing the man. She's the boyfriend, right? My boyfriend taught me how to do that. I don't know if you guys have seen the clip from episode 9, but
And has Melissa always worn her hair like that? I'm wondering.
yeah, she's always wearing little braids and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
I like it. I think it's cute. I love Melissa. I mean, I don't know how I feel about Hillary Swank, but I love teen Melissa. She's
I'm
just
just
pure and she's sweet. And she just wants
for
a quarter pounder, just like
for
me.
all you dominant subs out there, y'all know what I'm talking about with that hair.
Are you saying she's like a submissive one? I don't know. Anyways, we won't get into it. It's
I'm not saying
probably.
anything. I'm not saying anything.
All
I'm not.
right. So yeah, so there so we kind of talked about this with Akila. She has the vision. Nat returns to the plane. So finally the group kind of comes back together. They're all like in really good spirits. They, have big plans to go to McDonald's after they get back. I can't say I blame them. I would tear that up right now. But basically, mom and dad get back together and they're like, look, if you try any stupid shit, I'll shoot you, or whatever Nat says.
Okay.
And
Gangster Shauna.
yeah. And basically, she is. So they're getting Cody and Hannah ready, and they're like, all right, you guys got to lead us out of here. We're packed. We're ready to go. And then just as they're like, about to, head out, Lottie stands up and she's like, I'm not going. It's just, I'm not going to go. And Nat tries to, coax her into going, try to coax her into changing her mind. Why would you think that? It's a terrible idea. Come on, the rest of us are going. But finally, she's like, okay, fine. You want to stay? Then stay. Like, that's your business. We're leaving. Then Shauna stands up and she says, no, I'm going to stay too. Like, something just doesn't feel right. And then Ty stands up and she says, I'm not going as well. I'm staying, which really like triggers Van. She's like, what are you talking about? You're not going. Pick up your bag. We're going. Like, what are you saying right now? And so it's a very tense moment. But finally, the majority of the group decide they're going to go and leave the rest of them there. And then Shauna says, actually, no, you're not. Like, you're staying here. And that's kind of how that ends there. And we're, faced with this dynamic, who's the leader? Is it Shauna or is it Nat? We had this moment for like 5 whole minutes where Shauna was named as the leader. Lottie named her the leader. And there is this dynamic going on between Lottie and Shauna throughout the season where there's kind of this power struggle. Obviously, Nat is like King Log, she's a sort of passive king. She wants a peaceful, happy court and kingdom, and versus Shauna, who is far more domineering. She's like King Stork, she's like, my way or the highway. You guys are going to listen or I'm going to chomp you. And Lottie being the sort of spiritual guru for everyone out there, it's kind of like wherever she's leaning is going to empower the person that she's supporting. So even when it's just these 3 versus the rest of the group, plus the people who are supposed to be guiding them out, somehow these 3 are winning. Somehow they're the ones that win. They don't have the weapon. Like, okay, Ty has an axe. Are you going to take out the whole group with an axe? Are you going to attack people with an axe? I don't know. I don't see that happening. So it's just interesting, the sway and the power that they have when Shauna says, no, you're not going anywhere. You're staying here. And they listen. Thoughts, Mandy? Thoughts?
Edna says it best because they don't want to leave without them. And I think that what they're doing is not just installing fear, but they're just like installing that like fear of loss, because like when you love someone and you have a team and you're living as a team and they're thriving as a team right now, finally, until they were found out, and now it's separating again because again, those little lies and secrets and things, everyone came out to each other. There are no secrets here. There's none until these 2 scientists watching who are completely watching them. And now they're thinking about having to go back to the lie of lives that they are. They can't be that same person. They don't know what to do. And that's, as an adult, that's something to be afraid of. As an adult, when your life blows up, you don't know where you're going and what to do. And as a teen, you don't know how to emotionally process that. You think that everyone's given up on you, and again, it's more of a control thing here too. I think they all finally found control. Like all 3 of these, they, didn't really have control, and now they do. And so they're trying to just take what they can in the place where they can. I don't know if, man, I do like that about like Shauna, like Ty. Van doesn't want to because she can't live without her, and like the frogs, and it's so much. There's a lot of thoughts here, and I don't, you can't get into every little detail, but I do think it's just like about making it. Yeah, It's about making a stand for themselves. They're all making their own stands for themselves again versus the team.
Yeah.
So they were a team, and now that they're going back to the real world, they're all standing for themselves again. So
Mhm.
this is again this back and forth dynamic that we're switching in the spectrum of them playing together as a body. They just ate one whole body together, you
Mhm.
know, but yet they're self-separating ways. And it's I just wish that they would lay down their pride. I wish
Mhm.
that they would lay down and just trust each other. And, like, I'm sure we're going to get more into a detailed, complex conversation or vote between we're either going to get that or we're going to get them throwing Nat in jail or something, or Nat's going to go off on her own with the gun, like with Travis this time, because
Mhm.
Akila wasn't quite the right person to do that with. Maybe them and the hunter. That would the Orion, and we talked about the Orion Bowl and the hunter and those two, and like season 1 about their stars and the Taurus and who we thought and their counterparts with Greek. And I really think that will be something that will happen because Nat's
Mhm.
the one who saved them. I really hope that they don't kill Cody or they don't. I don't know. Like I feel like Cody is an instigator and all this. Like someone commented way up before, like how did he not know if he's so knowledgeable about that area and around? Cody would have known probably that cabin was there. He would have known people or
Yeah.
situations,
Mhm.
or he would have like I know that the ship or the plane crashed way out of place, but still like they're pretty wide spread out at this point. And if Cody being such a tracker, maybe he is another entity. And I would love that.
One
Let's
thing,
see.
so Wild Marjoram had commented, is this Mother, Maiden, and Crone? That's a really actually excellent point. Um, Somebody also had pointed out that this is the same trio that in the pilot episode when they're talking about the Allie Stevens thing, the freeze her out conversation. It's the same trio, and then Nat is the one that's like opposed to it. So it's kind of like the same situation. So
I
I love
like
it.
this. We have so many theories that are, and we're all over the place together as a team, Lola,
Oh
as a
yeah.
team.
Wild Marjoram asks, "Is that cat still in their house? The karma cat?" She says. A very good question. I have my speculation. They haven't been home, so I was wondering, like, could the scratches have come? Maybe Jeff is like sneaking off to go take care of the cat every day to make sure it's not like peeing all over their house or something. You just bring a random cat into your house and then just leave it there to go stay at a hotel. I mean, that's
Is
asking for trouble. That's asking for big time trouble.
is this the true too? I didn't notice this. They're all in the same outfits they actually crashed in, like their redeeming
Yeah,
outfits.
the whole team kind of wear these sort of outfits that are reminiscent of what they wore when they crashed. Yes.
I hope
Yeah.
that's a good catch, citizen detective.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, if you have any last questions, we're pretty much wrapping it up now. So we'll drop any last minute questions into the chat and we'll try and answer those for you guys. But otherwise, we're going to get it finished up here. If you haven't seen quite yet, the new trailer for episode 9 just came out like late last night, early this morning. I think they were waiting for the Sunday episode because some people watch on cable and that doesn't air until Sunday. So I think they were waiting for that. However, there is a scene from episode 9 that was released by the Yellowjackets, like their YouTube channel. So you can look it up. And it's kind of a face off between Shauna and Nat. And it's probably like, I'm guessing the very first scene of episode 9. So if you guys want to check that out, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I'm also working on a video about the moths for you guys. So I should have that out to you in the next couple of days. I'm really excited to share it. It was a lot of creepy fun to research.
Wait,
um,
wait, gray alien, is that gray area? Is it gray area?
no, great alien.
Yeah, designer for Thrones at a convention. What convention?
Which one?
Have you met me at the Thrones conventions?
Yeah, Mandy's a queen of Con of
I
Thrones.
was well, no, I'm not. I'm not,
she's
not a
she's on
queen.
their website, you know.
I mean, I was oh, okay. No, they used my game. I was a werewood tree one in at Con of Thrones in Tennessee, and then they ended up using my picture for like the convention cosplay contest. I was like so humbled. I don't know, it was cool because like I actually made that costume out of curtains, like a Scarlett O'Hara. I was broke as a joke, and I used like actually leather from my old couch that was falling apart. And then it ended up being like it cost me like $20 to make the costume, and I ended
It was
up
cool.
being yeah, we'll have to show it or
Yeah.
something next time.
Mandy and I, that was our we hung
That's how
out
we
at
met.
yeah, that's how we met in real IRL. We met at Con of Thrones and
Yeah.
haven't parted ways since.
She does exist, okay? She does
Yeah,
exist.
we're both real.
She
We do exist. She is verifying. She's stamping my
Mhm.
whatever. You know, one last thing I do want to say that I failed to mention. Okay, now you guys know I've been having this kind of ongoing theory throughout season 3 where there's been like these significant dates, like actual holidays that are passing by and they seem significant to the way that the show is scripted out. Okay, so like we started on Valentine's Day, which is also Lupercalia, which is a Roman holiday. We had President's Day and these things, and so significant moments in the show are happening at this point. So like um we also had the Ides of March, and that was coinciding with the episode
Mm.
where Coach was killed. And then interestingly, episode 7, when the frog scientists come in, was on the same day or the same week of World Frog Day. Okay. So, like these little things. Now, Ides of March is the day
Love
that
it.
Caesar was killed. Now we have what I am calling the triumvirate. Okay. So, and probably Carl Karsnark, drop some knowledge in the chat. I know you know. The triumvirate was a group of 3 men in ancient Rome. So there was kind of 2 occurrences of this, 2 instances. The first triumvirate was an unofficial coalition between Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus in 60 BC. And so they're holding power over Rome. And then the second triumvirate was in 43 BC, and that was between Mark Antony, Marcus Lepidus, and Octavian, which is Caesar Augustus. So Julius Caesar's nephew, who became Augustus. Okay, and so
So
oh, go ahead.
also the whole putting the knife inside the shirt
Yeah,
that's reminded me of that instantly. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear Aaron talk about that.
you
But
know, there's some Caesar stuff, but yeah. So the second triumvirate was like really interesting because you know this was Octavian's sort of retaliation for them killing his uncle. And so after Caesar was killed, there was sort of this power vacuum. They're like trying to figure out who's going to rule. And one of the names that were thrown around was Caesar's nephew, Octavian, who was kind of like young and not necessarily the most experienced or most intelligent or anything like that. But somehow, actually, he was like that kid had something in his pocket and he came out swinging. And so he basically got retaliation on all the people who had killed his uncle. And then he took the position as emperor, although not necessarily. He did it in a very kind of deceptive way. Like he was like, no, I don't want to be emperor. And then it forced the people to like vote him as emperor in a way. Anyways, it's kind of interesting. Octavian is so interesting to me. I love him. Caesar Augustus, very fascinating. There's a great show called Domina where he is played by Tom Glenn Carney. I highly recommend it. So, and it'll teach you all kind of stuff. But so what I really enjoyed, yes, exactly, Carl. I love this. So from democracy to republic, triumvirate to emperor, and many such cases. So yeah, it's kind of a
like how
fascinating idea because now we have these 3 who are standing up, and also, I mean, at the end of the day, like Nat did kill Coach. So like if we're looking at like the Ides of March and the death of Caesar as sort of equating to the death of Coach and that kind of thing, he's their leader. So now we have this triumvirate in response. And I mean, none of them necessarily, I don't know. It's just interesting.
Well,
There's just
it's
something here. And maybe I'm
yeah.
of course reading too much into it, but I'm
Mm-mm.
going with it. Now I want to remind us that the
They're
final
going.
episode of the season, episode 10, takes place like a week before Easter or the week of Easter.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, there's so many of the biblical references. And then remember last year, Roman's Men's Countrymen was the first episode.
yes.
And we have like a lot of stuff, with that. But yes, they are showing the difference between going from a wilderness tribes to a more democratic setting this entire season. So, but I do want to share this.
Oh, there we go.
Can you see it's a lot of things?
I don't know if I can
I don't know, my brightness.
on you.
Forget the brightness. If I can get this out.
There we go.
That's me and Amanda.
Yeah.
With Jamie and Braun.
And that was great.
Yeah. And actually, so she was saying, I went to a hotel rave here by myself. I wore this costume and I actually did face painting too. And I was like in the middle of the floor dancing as a werewolf, my whole just by myself. And I waited for him for like 2 hours to come out the back. Ended up getting pictures with him. I don't have those on the side for me, but it was really cool. I was about to be like, hold on, what's up? Let's go home. But
we had fun. Yeah.
That shot, the famous. Come on, y'all. If y'all watch Game of Thrones, you know what shot I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, he's part giant.
He is part giant. I don't know if I could handle that though. I mean, really, I don't think I could. And I'm a big girl, so.
Well, I think he's also gay, so I think we're fine here. But
well, that's fine with me. I mean, me too sometimes. It depends on the day. Okay, let's go. But yeah, Amanda, Crowfoot's daughter, she's amazing. You should follow her too for stuff.
Yeah, if you guys are big fans of A Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon like us, definitely follow The Disputed Lands. It's a great channel. And Mandy and I have had her on the podcast last summer when we were covering House of the Dragon. I think we did episode 6 or something like that. She came on the live stream with us and it was a lot of fun. So,
and most likely someone mentioned that they want us to cover it again way earlier in the chat. But yeah, most likely
House of Dragons?
Yeah, most likely we will.
Oh, you know it. We're definitely, we'll see if we can, wrangle Mandy into it. She has complicated feelings with the, hey, it's Mud Love Media. Shout out earlier in the stream. So, and linked your channel. So if you missed it earlier, definitely check out Mud Love Media's channel, subscribe to him. He's got some great Yellowjackets content. But yeah, we'll definitely be covering House of the Dragon and probably Dunk and Egg, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is coming out later this year. I want to say in the fall. So that's what you can expect from the channel later this year. I have plans to cover A Night of the Seven Kingdoms and also the Pendragon cycle if it ever comes out. Shout out Jeremy Boring, you cool guy. So yeah, hopefully the Pendragon cycle will come out this year, but I will have a few more Yellowjackets videos out for you guys, probably a couple after the season. And I kind of randomly sprinkle in Yellowjackets videos throughout, the off season and that kind of thing, just as they come to me, like my Pit Girl theory, which thankfully has been very popular and you guys are awesome by watching it. So thank you for that. And I feel it still holds up because it doesn't have to do with who is Pit Girl. It has to do with when is Pit Girl. Just saying. So
who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's
there
what we want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many questions.
Use your reporter skills. Use the investigative journalism skills. And
do Mully and Skeller get together?
We'll find out who Pit Girl, when Pit Girl is.
Do Mully and Skeller get together? That's the pitfall. Okay.
I don't know. Someone tell us in the chat because I didn't watch X-Files. So
what?
I know. I was scared of aliens. You know what? I'm kind of sensitive. I can watch cannibalism, but I draw the line at scary Sci-fi. I don't know.
I married an alien. He's from Peru. When my child was born, he was born purple with dark black eyes, almost like the man with no eyes. Like literally, he was like, and he was like purple with these giant. Because I got big eyes, but like they were black, and I was like, okay, Peru, let's go.
Oh my
Shout out to our. Hola, esa es mi amigas in Peru. Amigos y mi primo in Peru. I know my cousin in Peru watches. So, anyway.
Great alien. You know what? A lot of people have mixed feelings about Daemon Targaryen. And you know what? My feelings are not mixed. I love him. And you can take that or leave that from me. But I love him. I have an entire Daemon playlist. So you guys can
at the top of it is
hate on Daemon all you want. That is the once and future king. That he is Arthur coded, and you can't take that away from me. So pry it from my cold dead hands.
At the top of it is Mandy when Litbringers made Prince Daemon. That really wasn't me. That was more one of the other Litbringers. But
sorry, like you know what? It's the broad strokes. Yeah, he might not be, everybody's favorite, but honestly, like whatever.
Who is? I mean, who is anyone's favorite? That's why that's brilliant, and that's why this show's brilliant. It's like, all the characters that we hate. We hated Jeff in the beginning, remember? And now we're like Jeff, like homeboy, let's go. Like I'll be like Jeff's number one cheerleader in the fan right now. I wish I went to Jeff's high school football game. Like.
Look, you guys know that, like, if you've been watching this channel for a while, like Shauna was my number one girl, like this whole time, the whole series. I was like, yeah, Shauna is my boo, like, because we have a lot in common. But you know what? Not anymore. Not anymore. I think she's gone a little too far. And so I don't think I'm driving with that as much. I actually kind of am feeling a little more connected to Jackie, to be perfectly honest.
I hated Shauna. I liked Lottie. I know a lot of people didn't like Lottie, but I liked Lottie. But then I started feeling for Shauna in season 2. But now, I feel even more for Shauna. I pray for Shauna. Okay, let's just pray for our enemies.
Just like Melissa. Melissa prays for Shauna.
Yeah, Jeff is definitely the
P-R-A-Y, not P-R-E-Y, like Shauna's version of praying.
let's figure prophet or prophet.
Exactly.
Pray or pray. Faye or Mandy. I don't know. We're all one.
Indeed.
All right, let's check you out.
No reason.
Oh, all right. You know what? That is, I'm sorry. Like, even though all the songs were great, this song, and let's go back to Mandy's Music Corner, that still remains the number one. Like, every time I hear it, like, it's just so great. Even my kids sing it, like, no return, no return, no reason.
So does my daughter. She doesn't. She's like, you can't even speak that well, but she does. She's always singing No Return. She loves it. I caught her the other night, literally, like she has a little laptop in her room, and she had pulled up pictures of Yellowjackets, just like on Google. Like she Googled Yellowjackets, had the image results on her screen, and then that's like what she went to sleep with.
Yo, that's what I'm. That's why I'm bleaching my hair. I'm bleaching my hair for that, and I'm also gonna do a Walton Goggins for gemstones, like Baby Billy, like there'll come a payday. I'm doing a pay. It's coming, okay, but yeah. So the No Return though, like. I love it so much because every single time, like, you don't want to fast forward it. You watch it, and there's still all these, even though it's a lot of the same pictures, they always add in 1 or 2 little new edits. Mm-hmm. And then if you really watch it, you catch them. And it's just, man, it's a brain worm. You're right.
Hashtag RFK. All right. Anyways, I gotta go. It's time for me to go fishing in the wilderness. Okay, guys, and make sure and take care of your friendly local brain worms. Yeah, we are going straight to hell.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for being here watching. We will be here next week for episode 9. Very much looking forward to it. I've got another video coming out to you guys this week, so keep an eye out for that. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and we are here every week to discuss the newest episodes of Yellowjackets. So we'll be back next week with the next one. And thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Thanks for spending your Monday with us. And we'll see you in the next one. Jackie out.